And this is the top focus. A huge relief here that's coming from the Supreme Court for the Amrapali home buyers. The Supreme Court is out with a solution. It has directed the NBCC, which is the government construction body, to undertake all the unfinished housing projects of the Amrapali group and file within 30 days' time a comprehensive plan within which construction will be completed. We have with us our Deputy News Editor Meenakshi Bhanja getting us further inputs here. Meenakshi, help us understand the nitty-gritties of this with respect to what the Supreme Court has said in directing the NBCC now, in holding the NBCC in charge to complete all of Amrapali's unfinished housing projects.
Well, yes, that is of great significance because remember, thus far it was only between Amrapali and the home buyers. The government was perhaps not involved anywhere. The Supreme Court is not letting that be. It is for somebody who is responsible in this particular instance, the Ministry of Urban Development, NBCC, to take direct accountability of the home buyers. And in pursuit of that, what we are seeing there, in the follow-up from yesterday, you will recall, yesterday all the top ministry officials had been summoned. The chartered accountants of Amrapali had also been summoned by the Supreme Court, and the court had gone ahead and frozen the accounts and the movable properties of the Amrapali management and directors. So the money is essentially in the control of the Supreme Court, and the court wants the home buyers, the promises made to the home buyers, fulfilled now. So the Supreme Court is going to, of course, fine-tune and find a way forward. But the very fact that so much has happened between yesterday and today in itself is a huge reprieve for almost about 42,000 Amrapali home buyers.
Absolutely, Meenakshi, and the kind of message here through the Supreme Court to other private realty companies that is being sent out as well. One, in stating that diverting home buyers' money should be treated as a criminal act, and second, that properties of a certain company that can be attached to work towards completing unfinished projects, that home buyers cannot forever be kept waiting on getting their homes.
Well, absolutely. You know, we have seen this become so much of a practice in daily life that promises are made, shiny brochures are presented, and dreams are sold, and people do make their life savings. Make an investment of their sum total of life savings in these projects. And eventually what transpires is something which we have heard so many times over, that this time the Supreme Court has really gone ahead and cracked the whip. Yesterday the observations were scathing. The Supreme Court said, do not test our patience. This kind of diversion of funds where you collect money from the home buyers for a particular project and then go on to divert the same money for another disparate project, the Supreme Court feels is a criminal misappropriation of funds. And
a common practice that has been seen with several private builders there. Exactly. Meenakshi, please stay on with us. We are getting in our viewers calling in. We're getting in the affected people calling in here on this. Let's have Mr. K.K. Kaushal, home buyer, with us over the phone line. Yes, Mr. Kaushal, please go ahead. Your first reaction on what the Supreme Court has now stated in offering a workable solution. The NBCC is to complete these projects now.
Yes. See, if you see the today hearing of Supreme Court, during the discussion and hearing of Supreme Court, NBCC came into picture clearly, and this is a big relief for home buyers if NBCC takes the entire incomplete project of Amrapali Group, right? Actually, you know, Amrapali is on the verge of bankruptcy, so there is a disappointment amongst the home buyers who were suffering last 8 years after giving 80-90% of entire project cost. So at this juncture, and this is a very big relief for home buyers that NBCC has given his consent to complete the project.
Right. Mr. Kaushal, how do you think this is going to be workable on ground? The Supreme Court has given the NBCC 30 days time to submit a plan on how this can be worked on ground.
Yes, this is a serious matter. Actually, we cannot say in a hurry that NBCC can take the entire project. on the based on this today hearing, there is a pros and cons and supervision and auditing of entire project, because there is a financial crunch and financial instability between Amrapali and Greater Noida Authority. So after 30 days, as today Supreme Court ordered to NBCC to submit the report, after 30 days, NBCC will submit the entire financial structure and what would be the basis of complete the project, what will be the cost, and what they actually need for the amount to complete the SIC project. So that would be, this is the step that needs to be taken by the NBCC, and after 30 days, actual picture will be clear for entire buyers whether this is workable or not, because this is very complicated matters. And how can you believe? Because see, if you see the Supreme Court even scolded NBCC Secretary Mr. Mishra during the hearing. How they can enter and discuss. Even there is one advertisement published in a leading newspaper through NBCC regarding tendering of SIC project. So this was not even clear during the hearing that NBCC step would be even in favor of buyers, or even this would be positive for us or not. So definitely, but yes, there is a big relief. NBCC, NBCC is a financial institutions of central government.
Right.
We have met to even Hardeep Puriji, Urban Housing Development Ministry, and I must say this is the initiative that NBCC today came into picture because of the Urban and Development Ministry initiatives. So definitely, this is NBCC is a big financial institutions of central government, and if NBCC takes this initiative, we are so happy, and even we do welcome for such kind of favorable initiative by NBCC.
Absolutely, Mr. Kaushal, without doubt, we've come a long way from the past few months, almost 2 years, of protesting against a private builder in not being able to give the homes when promised. We've certainly come a long way, far more empowered today in the courts treating this seriously. Let's in fact get in yet another word here. We have Uday Vavikar, advocate, with us over the phone line. Thanks for being with us, Mr. Vavikar. This is finally now shaping up into a workable solution on ground. It's no longer a scenario of home buyers helpless, left stranded, not knowing what to do next. They sought the court's intervention, and this is what the Supreme Court has suggested today, a workable solution.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr. Vavikar, we can hear you.
Hello?
Mr. Vavikar, please go ahead if you can hear my voice.
Yeah, tell me, but I can't hear you.
Okay, the issue that we're discussing here is in what the Supreme Court has decided today in directing the NBCC to submit a plan in 30 days' time, in how the NBCC can now step in to complete the unfinished projects of Amrapali.
Hello?
Okay, Mr. Vavikar, I'm afraid we're going to be reconnecting with you on that in just a bit, but we're going to be getting in several more affected people to react here on this. Our call lines are open. We are flashing that number on the bottom of our screen. Our Deputy News Editor, Meenakshi Bhanja, has been getting us further inputs here as well. Meenakshi, this without doubt has been a long-drawn fight as far as images of what we remember most of helpless home buyers with no other option but hitting to the streets in protest against a certain private builder for not being able to hand over their dream houses that were promised to them. But today is a day where we can say that home buyers will feel far more empowered.
Well, absolutely, Sahib. You were talking earlier about the workable solution being implemented on ground. This really is, perhaps it's not yet fructified to its fullest, but certainly it's a step taken in the right direction. And why it's a step taken in the right direction is because the Supreme Court has cracked the whip. The arguments are over now. The Supreme Court does not want to hear any further of the pleadings that were being sought to be made by these directors of the company in question. But the court wants hardcore action. Yesterday we saw the scathing observations, and that is a clear indication why the Supreme Court cracked the whip and froze the accounts of the directors, the movable, immovable properties, and that is a huge thing. Supreme Court has done that in the past as well. Sahib, we'll recall the SEBI versus Sahara case, for instance. What happens is when the money comes in the control of the Supreme Court, the control and supervision of the Supreme Court, then the court can really conduct a series of hearings to decide in the foreseeable future the manner in which the money should be utilized or spent, or the property should be sold to raise the money against the properties, and then that fund can be diverted for the sake of the construction of the pending projects, etc. So several things can be worked out. And the other important aspect here is that the government has been called upon to take accountability, greater responsibility, and the court is still continuing to be in charge of the matter is still the top court. So this is.
Okay, we seem to have lost that line there, having a bad day with the audio connects, but we're reconnected here with advocate Mr. Uday Vavekar with us over the phone line. Mr. Vavekar, this sends out a very strong message even to other private builders. If they're on the verge of declaring bankruptcy, they no longer can say that, look, we've gone bankrupt, we can't complete this project. This is the next step today. You can have the Supreme Court ask the NBCC now to finish these projects, attach the properties, immovable assets there of the private builder, and then get these projects finished.
This is a good step. I would really welcome, and this was required for a long time. But the only question is how much delay there will be in the procedural delays, and how fast people can get money, how fast the attachments could be done, how fast the properties could take over and disbursement should reach the final consumers. That would be really a question, because government is going to decide everything, but the machinery has to be very fast. We have seen there are excellent laws, we have seen there are excellent procedures, but the time consumed in the procedures because of lack of either infrastructural facilities or proper amenities or for proper manpower, the entire scheme should not suffer. It is long required. Some control on builders, some money back, get their houses back properly. One of the suggestions was that builder must be accredited by the government, and the company should be listed, and more so, it should not be project-wise, it should be builder-wise. And the accountability should not be only in terms of amount, but there should be also an accountability in terms of gradation, so that people have a choice and transparency and track record available in RERA, but not fully. So therefore, once it starts, that they can be delisted. And
so, Mr. Vavekar, how do you feel this is going to be viewed on ground? The reaction to this on what the Supreme Court decided yesterday and today both. Yesterday saying that diversion of home buyers' money is a criminal act, and today saying that the NBCC should step in and finish these projects. What do you think are going to be the ripple effects of this that we will feel in the industry today after today's development?
There are two things. Like in Consumer Protection Act, under Section 27, builder can be sent to jail for 3 years, and our experience is after the jail sentence, most of the matters are settled. There is no penal provision, and that penal provision is absolutely required. Because RERA orders, there's a question, how do you execute and how long? So therefore, because there is no punitive position in RERA, nor there is any civil attachment which can be done, only it can be cancelled, and then you have to go for execution to civil court or criminal court, which is very dangerous, which can be really time consuming. So therefore, such effective measures are required as far as punitive action in penalty and arrest are concerned. Simultaneously, if the authority takes over the development, fine. But whether that authority is funded, whether that authority would be like DDA or that authority would be like MADA, and whether they would be effectively constructing, how long they would take for the project, how much finances they will have, how much powers they will have to take over is again a question. So unless fine-tuning is done, unless infrastructure is given.
That's right. And it's important to address these concerns, because at the end of the day, these are the concerns which would determine how this can be worked on ground. Mr. Vavekar, could there also be a concern here that there could be a quality deficit if you have bodies such as the NBCC come on board, or the DDA or the MADA come on board?
I have my doubts as far as quality deficits are concerned. Quality deficits from the organizations, yes, I agree with you. That is, if NBCC does not build quality houses, like they used to be one time DD houses or MADA houses. Today their quality is much better. I would tell you that.
That's right.
But that's a good thing. But they have to be also monitored and audited, and vigilance department has to be there. And there has to be a qualitative checking.
Many thanks,
by the
Mr. Uday.
authority.
Absolutely. So we're hoping all of this, we're really hoping all of this is going to be taken into account in that 30 days time that the NBCC now by the Supreme Court has been given to submit a workable plan on how to complete these projects. Many thanks for all the voices here that have come in.